Hi there, this is Matt Heffernan. Welcome back to the Retro Desk. And today we're going to go back to the Commander X16 yet again and talk about a bit of history of where the X16 has been and where it is now, and specifically this really awesome new program that's been created for it. And to give some context, I want to go back to March 10th, 2020, a very ominous time in retrospect. And I posted on the Commander X16 Facebook group this post right here. This was in response to an earlier post where somebody said, hey, we can do full motion video on the Commander X16. And I did it here with the emulator, and here's how it looked. And that's when I started getting a little suspicious, like, I don't think the Commander X16 can really do this. And then I went and looked into how the emulator was written, and as I posted here, that it was not actually emulating an SD card interface. It was just opening files with fopen, and so the data was just coming in as quickly as possible, as fast as your host PC could read it off of your host file system. So there's no, the only thing preventing you from being able to get that video data onto the screen was just like writing from one part of memory to another. And that's not quite how it works with real hardware. We use this SPI interface to bit bang the SD card to get the data off of it. And the SD card is also something that it doesn't necessarily respond super quickly. There's a difference between the speeds of the different SD cards, and the fact is that it just takes a while to go through that whole bit banging process to get all of the data. You can't get it just 1 byte or 16 bits at a time. It's a much slower process. So I thought that, well, there's just no way you can do it. And so I had taken advantage of the artificially fast nature of the emulator to produce this GIF here of some video that I was able to make the emulator play that would not be able to be played on the real hardware. And yeah, like I said, don't be rickrolled into thinking that the X16 can perform like this with real hardware. Well, it can't perform exactly like that with real hardware, but it turns out it can get pretty darn close. So if you've been on the forums, you might have run into Anthony Henry on there. Here on the forums, he's ahenry3068, and on Discord, he's just Tony3068, and he's created this really it's a suite of applications to be able to get full motion video onto the Commander X16. He calls it simply X16 Movie Maker. Now, he's got some of his own YouTube videos of him just showing the videos playing off his personal X16 rig. I will link that in the description and at the end of the video, so you can go check out some of his original videos there. And what it does is it takes, like he says here, big boy computer videos, MP4, AVI, etc., and allows you to convert it to a format where his special player is able to play it back on the Commander X16 in real time. Now, of course, there are a lot of trade-offs that are involved with that. It's video rendering is a complicated subject. His software lets you choose what you want to prioritize. Do you want to have more colors? Do you want to have better resolution? Do you want to have better sound? Because there is ultimately a bitrate ceiling in terms of what the Commander X16 can read off the SD card and be able to both render the video. In his implementation, it's using a matrix of sprites to do it, and then it's also playing back the audio as PCM using the Vera's PCM audio feature. which I've also demonstrated in earlier videos, especially going way back to the initial implementation of that in the emulator. But now it's actually working here. So I'm going to show you a bit of the process of how you would do that. Now, here on the forum, he has released beta 7. I actually got a sneak preview of beta 8, and I'm going to run that for you right now. It works on Linux and Windows. I understand you can compile it for Mac also. It was written in sort of a modern version of QBasic, and here it is. So basically just asks you want to create a new X16 video, open a video file, and I will say yes. And what I am going to open is this guy right here. It is Charade. Now, Charade is a movie from 1963 that through the grave error at Universal Pictures immediately fell into the public domain because they had some peon in editing forgot to add the word copyright in front of the date on the video in the actual frames of the film. And because of the copyright laws prior to 1976 in the US, it meant Charade was, as soon as it became exhibited publicly, it entered the public domain, and that's why it's something you can get on DVD. You can watch it for YouTube for free. There's all these different ways of being able to watch this movie because it's fully in the public domain, and it's just kind of crazy to end up. And the fun thing is that not only is this just some weird error, but this is actually a really great movie. It's directed by Stanley Donen, who did Singing in the Rain and a lot of other great movies. And here is sort of the originating video that I have of it. Now, it takes place in France. This is the French Alps. And it stars Audrey Hepburn and Cary Grant. It's one of Cary Grant's later roles here. And he'd retire not too long after this. And you see, it's just a really beautiful film. It's a very wide format, lots of colors, and it's just a really cool movie. So this is sort of how it looks originally. But you'll notice here, because it's so widescreen, that it's not going to be able to fit on the Commander X16. You're going to have to crop the sides in to get it to the right aspect ratio. So that's just what I did. I used the magic of Handbrake to not only crop it in, but to also do a bit of down conversion to 20 frames per second, because as we will see here, here's this 20 frame per second version. You know, like, it still looks pretty good. You know, it's a little choppy compared to the 24 frames per second, but it's fairly acceptable. But here, once we get to the Movie Maker software, we can see there's a few different options. The standard one option is what I ultimately used, and it's going to convert this into a 160 by 112. So we're talking pretty low resolution here. This is like a quarter sized of EGA or VGA type thing. So like, imagine if you had a VGA movie player on a computer from 35 years ago. This would be using a quarter of the resolution that you'd be able to have on there. But the thing is that we had tiny little hard drives now back then, and now we have these SD cards that can hold, in this case I'm using a 64 gigabyte card to do this. So what ends up happening is when you use this program, and you can say, okay, I'm going to use this type of encoding, this resolution, this color depth uses the 256 colors, 8 BPP. So that means it's going to go frame by frame and try to get a palette that will best match what's currently in the picture. So it's a pretty simple. If we looked at some of the other options here, like standard 2, this is a higher resolution but lower frame rate. And then they have these tall ones. This would be like maybe for a TikTok or Instagram type video where it's not as wide. And there we can see here a higher frame per second. And then we've got these vertically compressed resolutions here where it's sacrificing color depth for pixels in this one. And then you can get really fancy and try to come up with your own combination of frames per second, bits per pixel, whether you want to implement dithering or do a palette shift, and all these other different options that you can have on there. But you have to understand that you're not going to be able to do 30 frames per second at 8 bpp at 640 by 480. That's just going to be impossible. So you have to sort of figure out where you want it to be, and it might require, in fact, it will definitely require a bit of trial and error to get the encoding that you want. But I did a bunch of that, and Tony was helping me through the process of getting the version of Charade that would work. First, but before we get to the emulator, it generates this project directory, and it creates a custom program that you can run. It's just a small one, and then it creates a video file. In this case, this feature-length movie, it's about 1 hour and 53 minutes, and in this encoding, that fairly low resolution and 10 frames per second, and it was using 21 kilohertz audio, and that got it up to 1.3 gigabytes. So actually quite a bit bigger than the source MP4 file that created it, which was more like 400 megabytes. So it's definitely not very compressed, as can be expected, because the X16 definitely can't do a whole lot of decompression. It just doesn't have the horsepower for handling that. So it's really got to be all nice and blown up. And then this program will just play it quite simply, but he also has this other software that lets you sort of manage a library on the Commander X16. So if we go over here to the emulator, so here's a bunch of video files and this guy up here, playmovies.prg. So I'm going to load him up and run. And then it prompts you for a movie name. You can do a list, and it will show you different movies. Now you'll see here, I've got a few different ones going here. But so let's take a look at. Hey, look, there's a Rickroll in there. So let's see a real Rickroll. And then here you get the play screen right here, and then you can just play it, and you can adjust the volume. We'll make it nice and loud for our friend Rick, and let's play it. All right, so there's a bit of it here. What we're going to show you here in a little bit is the running on the actual hardware. So the emulator, it's a little iffy. But let's run that guy again. And now we'll do Charade. So this is the one that I encoded. And you'll notice also at the top there it says bookmark at frame 1920. So you can stop a movie while you're playing, and it will create a little bookmark for you right there, and so you can start back from there. So here I had a bookmark starting at the same place where I had started the other two versions of the video. So let's take a look at that right now. So yeah, we can see here we got the beautiful French Alps in much lower resolution, and of course the sound isn't too great. But there's Audrey eating her salad, and yeah, So it works. It becomes maybe not the best video you've ever seen, but it is certainly full motion video. So let's take a look at some of the other things here that that Tony made here. So if I look at list, he went and did this thing here, 8BG open. You might recognize this one. Yep, and you might, and then so of course I had to go do another one here. So there we go. So yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do with this, and a lot of different kinds of movies. Another one that I wanted to make was a version of Big Buck Bunny, which is another public domain. This was intentionally made in the public domain as a Blender demo. And so this one here, I made a version that is 8-bit per pixel, but it's fairly low res and low frame rate. Now, what Tony had done is a little more experimental, and he made a version with a higher frame rate, but then the lower color depth. So you can see here, nice bright colors and everything. But then we can go see what Tony did. Now, what Tony did, I can't really play here on the emulator, so we're going to switch over to the real one. All right, so this is the real deal. First, I'm just going to show you the video of this because I can't capture the audio at the same time, but I will go back and show some audio here in a minute. So, all right, so now if I look in there, yes, there's Play Movies. I can load that up. Here, if I do another list, we can see some of the other stuff he did, including Bad Apple. Everybody has to do Bad Apple. So, of course, you know what the music to Bad Apple sounds like, but yep, there it is, Bad Apple. And here, you're able to do it without having to do a huge amount of color depth because it's just black and white. So here you can see that the color depth just 1 bit per pixel. So you're able to get a full 320 by 240 frame resolution because you're just doing 1 bit per pixel. So that's the kind of thing that you can do on there. But now some of his other stuff, it's you'll see I have some directories in here. Now his Big Buck Bunny version is not compatible with that movie player. It has to use its own custom player. So let me go right into that. You always got to remember the little @ symbol there. All right. Now I'm going to load up Big Buck Bunny 2. And we're going to run that. All right, now this is his version. And now this is only 4 bits per pixel, so it's only ever 16 colors at a time. So that's why you're going to see a much heavier dithering effect, especially here as more colors get introduced. So yeah, the water's not quite blue; it's a little more mauve-ish, and that. So, but you'll notice it is a much higher resolution and a higher frame rate. So these are just the trade-offs that you're going to have to do to get in there. So now I want to go back and play you a little more of that bit of charade here with so you can hear the original audio getting recorded right onto without so we'll get a direct digital recording of that audio as it comes out of the X16. So we'll open up the Play Movies program one more time, run that, and charade. We'll turn it all the way up, and then we'll play it. So yeah, looks pretty nice here. You know, it's a little choppy, and then we see what is the squirt gun.
Hola. Don't tell me.
Now, some of the hardest part in doing this encoding was getting the audio to actually sync up correctly. And so it turns out that getting that synchronization is really dependent on the frame rate of the video and selecting the right audio bit rate. So I selected 21 kilohertz at Tony's suggestion, and that's also why I downgraded the video to 20 frames per second before doing the conversion, so I wasn't trying to go from 24 to 10. I would go from 20 to 10, and letting Handbrake, aka a GUI around FM MPEG, to do the heavy lifting there, and then let Tony's program do what's needed to get it to work for the X16. So that gave it a fighting chance of staying synchronized.
And he obviously doesn't love me.
That's no reason to get a divorce.
But with Charles, everything is secret.
But yeah, the entire video for this, including the program to play it from the beginning, I will have a link in the description for that. You can download that for free. And like I said, it's a public domain movie, so this is just yet another cheap public domain version. And there's Cary, Cary Grant in all of his 8-bit glory. So there you go. You can create these pretty cool movies using the Commander X16 and a bunch of modern tools. It's all the stuff that I really like being able to do.
Quitter. You give up awfully easily, don't you?
All right, and that's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Click that bell to be notified for when the next video comes out. And if you want to be able to really support my channel even more, you can become a member. Click that join button, or become a patron and join our Patreon community. Just like the people you see here, and they get all the inside information on what I'm working on next, and be able to get all ad-free versions of all my videos before they go out to the general public. So again, I thank you for watching this, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.